Now we got what they only allow 300 pounds on the stage, you know what I mean? So I had to do two guys, 150 pounds each, and me, you know. So that's how we did it. Okay, Steve Lukather, Jay Graydon. Here they are. I talked to Jane Bitch about Steve, and I didn't spread any of these rumors because I don't trust nobody. You know? Because you know what happens here when I say Jay's coming, Steve's coming here. You know what happened? 3,000 guys show up, and I fool them. I said, now all the guys go, why don't you tell me? They're just supposed to come and see me. I tell the guys, come on. Why don't you tell me? Look, they were there again. And so I tell them, So now you got some hip guys now. Here they are.
All right. So let's get some questions going.
And we were just
like that. Anybody, top of your head, anybody got anything to ask? Okay, well, it's done.
Yeah, I already told them about the flip.
Okay, well, I always like to start with a couple of basic fundamental things. Like, where's the beer? We gotta have the back door. So, there's one thing that guitar players overlook that, I mean, you know, guys coming up that really bothers me. The nut of the guitar is so crucial for pitch, the height of the nut. You know, the height of the nut should be exactly the same as spreading the, you know, the distance between the string, missing the fret, and the second fret, right? I mean, if the nut's too high, obviously the guitar's going to play sharp in the front of the guitar.
Talking about the nut stuff.
Anyway,
I didn't know where you were going to start, but I didn't know you were going to start with the nut.
I always start there. I always start there. So you know what I'm saying? The distance of the nut fretted to the first string should be the same distance, basically, as the first fret fretted to the second string. And anybody that doesn't really pay attention to that, man, you're never going to be able to play and see it, especially in the low part of the guitar. The other thing that comes to mind, too, is the higher the frets, the more of a pitch problem you're going to have, too. But obviously, you know, with high frets, it's easier to bend strength, no doubt about it. You just got to be, you got to learn to play each guitar in tune for what it is. If you have a few guitars, obviously they all tune up different, even though you got the nut adjustment, you know, the octaves adjusted correctly and all that stuff. But that's the real pet peeve I've got about guys starting out that, I'm sure you guys will get to this, but it's just something to be aware of. And as the guitar gets old, you know, and you're stringing a bunch of times, the nut's going to eventually wear in and maybe even get too low, whatever. It's just something I've always concentrated on. How do you feel about that? Do you even worry about that? I don't even ask you about that.
I think it's a matter of taste. It's a matter of, I mean, feel. How it feels. I just got back from Japan playing with Zach, and he barely fucking tunes his guitar, man. He plays when he plays, bend it till it's right there.
Listen, we talked to the nut, you know, about the nut with Tommy. He could say, "What are you talking about, man? I just pick it up and play, right?" So I mean, everybody's got their own concept to it, but on the technical side, that's one of the things I've always believed in, you know. Were the beers here yet?
No.
Guys, let's find a subject to talk about. You guys want to know about amps, studio concept and amps now? Does anybody care about that?
Yeah, what's Rivera do to your amps that Tommy doesn't know about?
Well, this is a good question. I was on a date one time with Dean Park, and he said, you know, there's this guy in town that's working over at Red Rose. He says they can modify your amp to sound real sweet with a breakup, nice and smooth. And I said, boy, I've been looking for that for a long time, because most Fender amps, most any amplifier in the past, you know, when you play a note, the way the distortion goes is like to zzz. You know, it starts off with a messy kind of distortion and then smooths out. We always wanted an amp to go zzz, you know, from the beginning, nice and smooth musical breakup, sweet breakup. So Dean said, this guy can do it. And I said, I don't believe it. So I took my deluxe over there and picked it up the next day. I freaked. I called everybody in town. Remember when this went down? I said, hey man, go see this guy immediately. And within a few weeks, everybody in town had their amps modded, and the distortion was so much better. Technically, what's happening is this. The waveform, it's like a push-pull kind of circuit, and there's like a double waveform happening. And one of them, if they don't look the same on the scope and nice and smooth, This technical part doesn't mean shit. But
No, it does. There's some of us older guys that want to hear that shit.
Okay. What he does is make both of the waveforms bust up correctly and smooths them out so the waveform is nice and even the same, not one's all hashed out where one might be smooth. And this push-pull kind of circuitry. So, he also, there was something else that we discovered, that Dean and I discovered about 2 weeks before we saw Paul. Ron Benson, we were talking to him one day. Remember Benson amplifiers? Does anybody even hit for those amps? Right. Tommy used to have them. Does Ron work here?
Yeah, he's one of the guys.
I didn't know that. He hasn't made amps in years, though, right?
Tremendous amps. He makes them hand custom.
Bebop amps. They're bebop amps. That's what I don't know about. I play bebop to a Fender. What do I know? Ron, I hope it's not too close. Anyway, we went over to Ron's place, and
Excuse me, I just have to say that while you're talking about that. One day I was doing my Santa Claus bit here, and I went up. I says, "Give me the worst sounding amp. I want to get a lot of distortion." They said, "Well, the worst amp everybody agreed was a Benson amp." So I said, "No, we don't mean that kind of stuff."
Ron's amp wasn't made to bust up properly, obviously. So when Dean and I were talking to him one day, we were mentioning that one problem we've always had in the studios over the years is that as you play on the E string on the guitar, the way the tone circuits are in Fender amps, the E string starts thinning out around C, 8th fret, somewhere around there. The E string just starts getting thinner and thinner. And if the guitar isn't a great guitar, it really gets ugly up there and small. So when we were talking to Ron about this, he said, "Well, I got a way around that." And I said, "What?" He said, "You change the way the curve is on the treble circuit in the amplifier. All you have to do is change the capacitor." So he went over, in other words, the Fender amps actually accentuate about 5,000 hertz for the treble control. That's its basic peak point. The more treble, the more that accentuation occurs. But he said you can back that down to about 1,000 where its big peak is, or 2,000, whatever, just by changing the capacitor. So I took this Princeton I had at the time over there, and we just kept changing capacitors until it was right for my particular guitar. Then when I went to Rivera with this, he dug that idea, and then that's where the 6th position capacitor switch came in. He said, "Well, if you can do that, why don't we have a choice?" I said, "Fine." Because you never use the second input in your amp. Nobody's plugging into your amp on dates, right? I said, nobody's plugged into the second channel of an amplifier since I was 15. So he said, "Let's put the switch there."
For vocals, right?
For vocals. I remember this friend of mine had a Showman 12 boy, and he was a friend of mine in a band that I was in, our neighbor band, right? And we did this gig, and nobody had an amp, so we had 2 guitars, bass, and vocal running through the show. Every time the bass player played a note, and the vocal sounded like Joe Cocker, The tone was just dying, and the vocal goes, So, anyway, so the story was Benson discovered this capacitor trick for us, and then Paul made it even more practical. And Paul was the first guy responsible for making sweet distortion. And since then, a lot of amplifier manufacturers have been trying to do this. I guess the big manufacturer that came along after that commercially that was doing it was Boogie. Actually, Paul went to work for Boogie for a while, but it didn't work out. So now the guy that's the king of this stuff, as far as I'm concerned, is Howard Dumble. I don't know if you heard any of his amps, but especially for clean, God, his amps sound so good.
Another cat too, Jose.
Is he good for Sweet Buzz?
He just did a mark.
Is he local?
Yeah.
What are their names?
What?
What are their names?
His name's Jose. I forget his last name.
You're Alvarado third. Next to the rest down there. Yellow Jose.
I'll find out. Who's the other guy?
No, that's funny.
Howard Dumble.
There's about 2 or 3 guys since then. Huh?
Dumble. D-U-M-B-L-E. There's only one. Dumble. He weighs about 450.
Oh, good. Bring him over so I look small.
Right.
That's what I need.
The only problem with Howard is it takes at least 6 months to get an amp from him. You got to pay out in front. But I got to tell you, if you do like his amps, I mean, if you get a chance to bump into one of his amps and listen to it and like it, it's worth the order. If that's your style. He's been making an amp for me for a year and a half. I mean, we made one and ripped it apart and started over, but hard guy to please. I mean, to get him to do it is ridiculous. It takes forever. But they're great amps. But still, for stock amps, man, Fender amps are fine. Go see Paul with them. I think Paul's still doing mod stuff. And I mean, for an inexpensive amp, that's the kind of amp that's many guys have Fender amps? Let's see. Jesus, not that many. All right, what do we got? What kind of amps are we talking about?
Jazz
Huh?
chords.
Polytone. How many guys are beboppers in this room? One bebopper? Three? Hey, come on, you guys got to be rock and rollers. How many rock and rollers in the room? Okay, how many people want to be studio players? So what have we left out? Classical players? Is there classical scenes happening?
Has to say what's up there. I don't know.
Classical players? Serious classical players? Okay. Gee, I wasn't counting, man, but it seems like some cats have to stuck their hands up. Fusion, okay. Jazz players, fusion players. Okay. Bass players we got in the room? Any bass players? Right here. Okay. That's pretty wide for a scene. What do you want to talk about? Let's pick a subject here. Let's go ahead. So how about that? You can still play chords cranked, and the notes are pretty clear. And, yeah. So, you got any questions? What do you think about that dancing?
I went to the Nashville about 2 or 3 years ago. When it first came out, I plugged in and I was blown away. I said, I really should dance. And I went to the local, I think it's out of Valley Arts. And went in and I plugged in and it sounded like shit. And I went like, what happened? And well, they had done like a bunch of modifications to it since the original idea. And they kind of went past it. That's my opinion. They sound great for some people.
I haven't heard it. Yeah. Question. Go ahead.
Yeah. To me, when it sounds that it's good, like if you just want a bit of an edge or that sweet distortion element, get back to the deluxe. As a deluxe cranked out, like in live situation, when you crank it out, I love it. Like sweet, but not clean enough when you want to clean it.
Well, they don't have enough power.
Yeah, no, if you get one that would sound with a bit more power, but would still kind of sweet as a deluxe.
See, then it wouldn't be a deluxe anymore. If you do that, you have to change the output stage of the amplifier, and the power transformer wasn't designed for that kind of a deal. You'd just be making another type of an amp. But I gotta say, when I was doing record days, I liked the deluxe because it was a little bit bigger than the Princeton. The Princeton was too hard to get clean at a low level. I couldn't even hardly hear the Princeton when it was clean. If I cranked it up to the point where I wanted to hear gain, it was starting to bust up. I was like the first guy to use a deluxe, and then everybody got deluxe, and then everybody went somewhere else shortly after. It's the same old story, man. When I was like doing dates and I was working a lot, man, if I had a piece of equipment that was happening, well, everybody would go out and get it. And when the next cat came along like Luke, same deal. But then everybody kind of goes off in their own scene too, man. But the deluxe in the studio, I think, was the sweetest amp of that era in the studio. The Twins were too stiff back then. And they were also too loud, man. You couldn't overpower the room. I mean, if you're playing in a room, man, you don't want to play that loud if you're playing in a tracking date and you need to break it.
Those are the days when you play in the same room with other musicians. Nowadays, like, you have to record one person at a time, so you use real loud amps. The only thing in the room, as far as records go, as far as Tommy goes and stuff like that, you have to have more contained. You can't go blazing into everybody else's mic.
In this day and age, too, man, not only, even if you're playing with a real drummer, if you're doing an ambient kind of a thing, one room is dedicated to the drummer. In the old days, we used to baffle up the amp in the same room. But now that the rooms are so ambient, most rock and roll records, just in general, records are being recorded are done in real ambient rooms. And even if you baffle the amp up, first of all, it sounds like shit when you baffle an amp up. It just gets so closed sounding, tight, not open. And plus, it's going to leak into the drums because the rooms are so live. So everybody's in their own room. If you do a situation like that, I did a real tracking the other day, and it was unbelievable, man. They have 3 people playing in the same room. Actually, only 2 people were playing in the same room. Not bad, the same shit. And the bass player didn't have an amp, so what's the difference? He could have been in any room. It's totally changed from the old days, boy. Basically, we represent 3 decades here of playing. It's too bad Dennis didn't come tonight. I'm going to call him up.
Then I could be from the 50s, 60s, 70s,
That's what I was
80s.
saying.
He could be from the 60s. He came in
The 60s, right. And I came in the 70s, and Luke came in tail end of the 70s.
I'm on the comeback in the 90s.
That's right.
That's practice. I want to do music. I want the new shit. I like the way it's flowed.
I I got to say something about Tommy. No, I got to say something about you, man. Whether you like it or not. You know, I saw Tommy. I met Tommy coming up, obviously, and he helped me out like he's helped any of the guys out that he could see cared and were qualified and, you know, were basically good human beings. If you came up and you were an asshole, you didn't have a prayer in this town with Tedesco. I mean, he would match you in the ground and teach you some lessons quick. But we don't need to get into those written down stories. So Tommy through all these areas, you know, had that same attitude like everybody else does when you're in a studio horror year after year. You know, it's just kind of I do my job and then I go home and I'll take the guitar out of the case and you know, pick it up the next day in the date and play, and I go home and I really don't care about music much. This guy did a turnaround here. I mean, he's out, you know, first of all, he came to the school, got into this, he got into the education thing in general, the guy's playing bebop and joints. You know, he's doing what he wanted to do. I mean, the original reason he started playing the guitar, we all did it, because we love music. But as soon as you attach that word business on the music, you know, you're not really into it just for the music anymore, and the rules change, boy. You know, you're out there making a living doing it, you got to play what people want. Unless you want to play bebop and work in joints, in a young age, you know, you're going to do that shit, but you're never going to make a real good living in it. Obviously, you're going to survive, you know. So, I mean, I got to hand it to Tommy. He put all this shit in perspective. He still does his dates and best string. He care less about the bullshit dates. He's a specialist now, and he goes out and plays bebop, and the guy's digging life, digging the guitar, and doing what he wants.
Geez, that's great, man.
I mean, I got a lot of now the beer's happening. Now the beer's happening. See, I mean, I started to play the guitar, like I say, for the love of it, and I'm not doing what I want to do with the guitar. I want to, you know, eventually, man, return my status to amateur and play bebop, man. I love bebop, you know. I'm not great at it, but I love it, man. And I just have so much respect for the guy. And I got to tell you, Lukather's doing the same thing now. This guy's younger than me, and he's doing the shit I want to do. He's working at a joint, he's working at the spud, the potato, you know. Well, on the ride down here, I said, man, I'm having more fun in that club because I could give a shit about dates. I don't care, I don't want to do them. I even asked him to do a day for me, and he says, I don't want to do that. Let's get landed, I'll rock him over and hang, you know. And I said, fine, we'll do that.
Well, let me just preface. I mean, like, I was lucky enough to get in it, and I worked for about 8 years on and off in between the band stuff work, and I had a great opportunity with some great people. And you get to a point where you just want to play your own music, you know, and focus in. I got to the point where, like, my own personal guitar playing was suffering because I didn't have any time to get into my own stuff and write my own stuff. And I found myself being stagnant because I go home from working all day, and the last thing you want to do is pick up the guitar. You want to grab a couple of beers and screw your wife or something. And it's hard. You have to get up the next day and do it.
This is a comedy team. If we get into this shit, you're going to keep laughing.
No, but seriously, I don't want to make
I get tired walking up 4 flights of stairs, never mind doing all the original stuff.
Don't worry about it. We got all night.
Go ahead, man. All right, yeah. Well,
I'm not done yet.
Oh, I'm sorry, man. I thought you were.
No, my point was, like, I did my time, so to speak, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I got to the point where, like, I needed to move on to my own personal growth. And so other guys like Mike Landau, Dan Huff, and those guys are doing sessions now. And I just started playing at this club. I started feeling like I'm not really playing, so we're working on a record. I was doing the band thing still. And I wanted to just get my job again. I wanted to get back to the excitement of playing for fun, not for money. Obviously, we play Steak and Potato on Sunday nights, and we play all this real music, and it's real rehearsed and never rehearsed. And just kind of go there and go for it. The solos can go anywhere. They can be outside, inside, they can be rock and roll, they can be jazz. And it's just even fun. It's just like about as many people that are in this room can fit into that club like this, you know, with beer like this. We're trying to hear what's happening, and we're on the stage like even smaller. But it's just something about it, man. It just brought back this whole love of playing. Now I want to practice at home by myself and stuff like that. It's brought back home inside. And I think that's important. You gain a perspective. Like you have a goal, like say you want to be a studio player. But you also have to think, well, I also want to keep something for myself. You know, I got to have another outlet. Like it's great and it's an honor to be working on record dates and stuff like that. But I think it's really important to have an outlet for your own material, whether you just play it for fun or whether you get a record deal. Or whether you don't even want to do record dates and you just want to play rock and roll or you want to play jazz or funk or whatever it is, man. It's always important to me to like assholes everybody's got. It's just a question of you follow your heart, and your heart will sit in the right place.
Yeah.
And while you're talking about that, you know, it's like we're all going to school. I got 3 months to go, and I'm starting to think about what I'm going to do when I get out of here. I'm thinking I want to get in a band, I want to travel, I want to do this. You know, while you're talking about this, kind of the big picture of where you end up. You three guys have obviously gone pretty far with you know, with playing and stuff. I'm just thinking, like, you've gone about as far as you can go, say in Hollywood here in LA, and you know, you're playing in London or wherever. I'm thinking about, you know, moving back to you know, Minneapolis or, you know, any other town or.
Well, that's how it's starting to happen, man. There's a lot of great music going on there.
Well, what I'm getting at is like, how would you describe the?
Hey, hold on for a second, man.
I got
It's like Blazing Saddles. You didn't bring it up for everybody? Chewing gum online. Go ahead, man. Is this going to bother you, man?
Yeah.
I do it every year, man. I don't have a choice.
I don't think we didn't have no credit.
I'm just saying, what do you see as like the progression of musicians? See, I don't have any role models of, you know, developed musicians. I think, okay, I want to be like Steve Lukather, but that's
your
just
best in that attitude, man. Be yourself. You know, on that level. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, I seem to be you know, kind of losing it. I don't know if I'm getting my point across here. Throwing the collar, right, Tom?
You know, I'll tell you one thing, man. Being back in Minneapolis or in some other town is much better than being in this town, man, for a lot of reasons. This town is cutthroat city. If you want to be a studio player, obviously you got to be in one of the spots. But if you just want to be a guitar player, man, I mean, it makes so much sense to me to be in a better environment than this shithole town. I got to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm get out. I can't go nowhere. I'm locked into the smog, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, how many people here like want to start a band and create?
That can happen in a lot of places,
you know?
man.
That can happen in a lot of places too. I mean, you don't have to be here to do that.
Right.
But I mean, that's the goal. I'm sure a lot of people just have where they hold their hands up.
Sure. And that was something I was going to say, man. I was thinking about this last night. That when I first, you know, I really didn't sound like anybody. I mean, I kind of sounded like maybe Larry or Dean or something because of the buzzsaw sound or whatever, but I never really sounded like anybody. Lukather never really sounded like anybody. I watched these guys. I mean, Carlos Rios is a great guitar player, but he's a carbon copy of Larry Carlton. And why be that? You know, I mean, I've got nothing against Carlos or anything, but I think individuality, man, a guitar player is the whole deal. It's great to learn guys' solos to see how they make certain moves, or I mean, you do learn a lot about the guitar. I mean, I learned pass solos and letting go solos and shit, but I mean, I never went to gig and played them, you know.
God or me.
Microphone's getting ready for the flip, I can tell. Have you guys heard about the split scene that's
Yeah, I
happening?
told him about that. Don't panic.
It's been 7 years in a row. I've never lost. So this is going to be a real. I mean, I've been thinking about this. I've never thought about this for so much. I mean, I've actually been like asking people, "What do you think? Heads or tails?" You know. Anyway, I got that's a real important thing. Go ahead.
Okay, you know, here we have at this school where there's like hundreds of different musicians, right? Everybody has aspirations to learn something with their music, and inevitably that's what everybody's here for. But, you know, how do people get into positions like you guys are? I mean, you guys are talking like,
This is a good
well,
question.
man, you know, record dates are...
All right, well, I'll tell you.
We would love to be in your position.
Yeah.
We're not paying attention to the basics here, but we will. And I'm going to give you.
Let me just interject one thing that's happened to them, I'm sure. When I tried to start making it in 1950 or 47, right? I'm out there playing. By the time I was making it in 54, 55, I was doing record dates, right? And I was so intent. By 57 on record dates, the picture of 50, pretty soon I'm a hot guy in 61. I'm like this, going and happening, right? Now finally some guy says, "Jesus, you're going crazy. You do all the picture work, you're doing all the record dates." And I said, "Oh my God, I made it. What did I make? You're so intent." They were so intent on making it, they forgot they made it. You know what I'm trying to say? And we're into that world. Just like yourself. you're on the bottom level because you're still, you know how you feel. You're going to try and make it wherever you're going.
It's a drive.
Well, in 5 years, even if you make it, you're going to feel like that, like you do now. You know what I'm trying to say? There's so much work. You got to get lucky, and everything else got to happen that you got to look in the mirror and say, "Oh my God, it did happen." But all you can do when he's talking about Minneapolis or Chicago or L.A., you just keep plugging. Well, I like to say determination, drive, whatever you want to call it. You know, there's a lot of hip words for that shit, right? Okay, but the idea is you got to be going that way all the time, and then pretty soon you get lucky and say, "Hey, wow, what happened? When did this happen?" You can't be getting up. That's all I'm saying. And there's a room here for all guys. What am I going to do? You just got to do. Doesn't matter. You got to do. No matter where you go, you can't just like they always kid about. Well, we're the great player. Like Jay's always talking about.
Benny?
No.
Ted?
Ted. He's always talking about Ted Green playing, right? Ted's a great player. But nobody ever broke into the living room to hear him play. You don't break into the house to hear a guy play.
He had the chance to do
But the idea is he didn't want it. He
didn't want
doesn't want it. He's sitting there. He wants to play and do his thing. Whatever you want to do, you got to keep doing this, no matter where you are.
It's a real funny thing because when I first started getting into doing this stuff, man, all I wanted to do.
Yeah.
That's
all I thought.
All I wanted was obsessed with.
Yeah.
Me too.
And like Jay would go like he was like, this is about had this is Phil. He was going like someday, man, you're gonna say, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to never.
Yeah.
Never.
I told him to become major.
Some people did.
Every right.
I just, I really found, since I was lucky, because I'm an outlet, I'm in a band, you know what I mean? So, I was lucky I had somewhere to go. But what I'm saying is, like, I broke all the rules. I have, never say never, you know what I mean? Because, like I said before, it was great. And I still do a few dates now and then, stuff like that, just to keep, your head in the right place. But your ideals change. That's what the point I'm trying to make. I wouldn't need to make it sound like we're a bunch of stuffy assholes going, like, oh, man, let's drag it. But that's not really what the vibe is.
Obviously, the people that want to be studio players are. And I'm now going to answer the basic part of the question. You don't get a chance to be a studio player unless one of the guys on the way out or in allows you to be, basically. Unless you're a total giant. And I mean, it's just, like Dean Parks liked the way I played. He's not a selfish kind of guy. He turned me on to the Motown account. This guy, Ben Barrett, was contracted for Motown at the time. And I had a pedal board. Believe it or not, the pedal board's actually what got me working for the Motown scene. They couldn't remember my name. Get the white guy that has all the gadgets, And I had this piece of plywood, man. Not plywood.
I know they just mentioned that. She didn't really say that. I just couldn't help it.
See, Lukather and I, we really got to try to be cool not to gross you out, because if we get funny, we're going to get into this. And I'm sure we will. I'm sure we will. But we are all having a good time, right? Yeah. All right. So Dean decided that he was going to allow me to have the opening. You got one chance. You blow it. And you're not prepared when you're in there. You're in major trouble. And I was studying reading at the time. Right before this went down, I was studying with Joe Valente, and I was getting into reading. Not a great reader, but I was enough to get by for, the kind of work that I did typically. So my timing was perfect. I studied how, guitar parts on record. I was a club band, so I knew what was being put on record. All right, so I had my shot, so I got in. And when I got in, boy, I did everything I could to stay in. And then I got to the point where me and Rittenauer were doing all the work out of our era, a good 5 or 6 year run, until I decided that I wanted to get out. It didn't get me out. I got out on my own and went on to my next phase. But during the time I was in there, a lot of things occurred. Bumping into guys like Tommy and Dennis were the best thing that could happen to me. You're going to make mistakes when you're in there. If you do get your shot and you're one of the 4 or 5 guys that are doing the work, I'm going to give you to a couple of things that you're going to do that you will eventually, things that you'll eventually bump into, and it'll be best if you don't blow it. Here's the first thing of them all. Thanks, buddy. Here's the first thing of them all. I was on a date, and I'm reading the chart, and it was like a G minor was written, and it was obviously a G chord. The piano player played a G chord. The guy that was singing the thing sang a B in the melody. Okay, so it's a G chord. I got G minor. I'm sticking up my hand going, excuse me, In bar 4, I'm thinking I'm hip now, right? In bar 4, that's a G major, right? I mean, I just wasted time, man. You know, it's a mistake on your part. These kiss-ass questions, you look stupid.
I did that once to some guy. I didn't even put piano for it. First time I ever did a TV show, some guy from class on me. Older keyboard player, I didn't even know what his name was, man. He was like, "What that's a stupid question like that for?
Right.
Did you have any years?" I was
Right.
like, at that point, I
Must
was
be
like,
Claire
"Too many
Fisher. He's
years."
the only one who talks to them.
No, I don't. I'm Mary Carey, you know. I'm going to kill myself.
I know you. I know you.
It was really
What I call them, they're the second grade good attitude questions. Because when you're a little kid, good attitude always looks good. You know?
Right.
Hey, teacher, the window's open. Oh, thanks, John.
Okay.
Hey, the window's open. The teacher was wrong, you know. So you
That's
try
rule
here to
number
show
one.
up, but it doesn't work.
That's rule number 1. The second rule is don't high-side the other guitar player. I was on a date with Vladimir one time, and we were out in Thule in Florence somewhere. I remember Janice Lisi in the studio. I'll never forget this because he made me really realize something. They asked him if he had an effect, and he didn't. And I said, "I've got it. I've got the effect. You know, I've got it. Let me show you. You know, listen. You know." The stupidest wrong thing to do. If they don't ask you, don't high-side the other. Don't make the other guy look bad. You know, but at the same time, there's a great story with Tommy and Dennis. Here's Dennis with his rack. He's got all this shit, right? And here's Tommy with his little board that says, "I'm bored." B-O-R-E-D.
I had two pedals on it. All right,
So they're going to Buttermere. They're going to Buttermere. Look at here. What's this kind of sound to describe it? And Dennis is kicking all this shit. Nothing's happening, right? And so they look over to Tommy, and I see Tommy didn't pull a high-side action. He waited for his turn to be asked. Tommy, what do you got? He puts the small stone face on and goes, "That's it! That's the sound!" And he's got this little dinky, little two-piece right thing. So that's a good lesson. Don't make the other guy look bad. I mean, don't come in and start flashing either. When you're sitting there and the leader's trying to get something straight, don't sit there and show everybody how fast you can play. Turn your amp up if you want to do that. You know, don't create any kind of action for yourself. Just play your part. Now, the last thing I got to say about the whole thing, and this pertains to records mostly, find a part. Don't flash. When the tape goes on, listen to the singer. I mean, when they're playing the demo, listen to the melody. Listen to the feel that's going on. And if the singer's singing live with you and you hear him in the can, listen to the singer. Listen to the groove. You've got to be responsible real quick to learn to find a nice little part in this format. You know, don't show everybody how flashy you are. Try to find a nice little sound, tune up, and just find your niche for the tune. If they want any fills or any solos, they're more likely going to ask for it later. You start playing too much off the bat, you're out, man. I'm telling you. And not just from that leader, all the other musicians on the day. There was a guy that came into town by the name of Larry Rolando. And this is years ago. He called up Carlton. Great story. This is the funniest part. Called up Carlton and says, "I'm a bitch, man. I'm coming to town. I'm happening, man. I'm a great guitar player." So Larry's one of those kind of guys that says, "Come on over, buddy, when you get here." So he comes over and he's playing for Larry, and Larry says, "You know, you're about 10% as good as I thought you'd be with your rap." But anyway, Larry did help him out a little bit, gave him a shot, but this kid made it look like Larry and him were the tightest cats on earth and was going out of his way to help him out. So he's kind of squeaking the door in a funny way on Larry's name. But Larry not really meaning to make this guy look like a heavy, he just threw him out of a couple of little gigs that weren't important, but the way he was making him look much bigger than it was. So I'm on a date with this guy on this Japanese project. Now, I'm hired to be the first chair. This guy's hired to be rhythm. The leader that I work for, I'm the guy that he uses, right? Rolando is playing fills over everything. In the days of two guitars, one guy would play fills and one guy would play a fun little part. Those days are long gone. But anyway, this guy's playing all over the shit. Now, I'm not going to sit there and try to play fills, too. I'm going to let this guy make a fool out of himself. I'm going to let him dig his own grave, which he did. You know, the leader came up to me and says, "Why is this guy playing all this shit?" I said, "I don't know. I'm not, you have to talk to him. I'm not going to talk to him. You tell him what you want to do." And the guy still told him to cool out, and he's still playing too much. Obviously, when that happens, all the other guys in the date hear it. I'm just trying to make a point to not blow it. Obviously, I must have made my point by now. What do you have to say to that, Luke?
I've got another story that relates to me, and this is like written out veil myself. I mean, I can read, but I'm not like, I'm nowhere in the caliber of these gentlemen right here.
This is the reader of life right here.
So I was on
Oh,
the...
reading contest. Whoever won a reading
No,
contest.
Dixon. No, this pertains to like the first chair, second chair. Right. You know? This is like, I was on the stage when I first started coming up, and like, it was a live date. You know, Gene Page was the writer, and he can write some shit, you know. And I show up by accident a half hour late, right? Which was like the kiss of death to start with, right? And so I'm real nervous and I'm scuffling to get my shit together and stuff like that. And I plug in and I look at the chart and I'm fucking horrified, man. It's like, it looks like worse than the piano part could ever be. You know? And I look over at Rittenauer's part and he's got guitar 1, I got guitar 2, and my part is like, my eyes were like old people, man, you know what I mean? Like, the clock, and they were counting the shit off, man, like, because I was late and I fucked up. And Rittenauer just looked, and I looked over his part, it's like, still here, rest, groove. You know, and I was the young guy coming up. He saw, I must have looked at him like, and just like, looks like I was going to throw up or something. And he grabs my part and puts his part in front of me. And he never said a fucking word. So I got to tell you, man, that guy bailed my ass out, and I got to say nothing inspirational.
And I'll tell you something.
That's how that's at.
On account of Tommy.
I mean, he bailed me out, man. And like, you know, that's what I mean. I'd worked
That's
with Lee.
great.
I'd worked with Lee before, and I was always very conscious whenever I sat next to somebody that I would always grab the guitar too far. Like when I sat next to you or Dean or anybody that I ever had a chance to. I never had a chance to work with Tom. I was too scared to death, man.
But see, now, Rittenauer, this is good you brought this up, because see, Rittenauer and I were very competitive at the time, not realizing that was total bullshit. And about 3 years into it, we talked about it, and said, what are we doing? You know, why have this vibe, you know? And you're gonna, some guys are gonna like the way you play, some guys aren't gonna like the way you play. You can have your accounts on my account, so we got all that shit straight. Before that went down, when he first came up, he was one of those guys that would play too much. He was one of those guys that would, you know, just have to grab the limelight. He was used to being a star kind of a kid. Tedesco slammed him right into the ground, just mashed him into the
Well,
dirt.
you don't know to sound that, but let me tell them the story.
Tell them the story.
It wasn't, everybody kept telling me about these things about him, you know, right?
Overplaying. and
Overplaying and doing that and taking over, and they said, well, wait until he works with Tedesco. You know. So sure enough, the first job, we had 2 experiences with this. One, now the first job, I sit in there, and he's playing, I walk in, the first job, he's sitting in a guitar 1, you know. And on guitar 2, on guitar 1, was the reason I was supposed to be there, because there was a lot of mandolin and, you know, miscellaneous, all this stuff. So finally, the first few went by, and finally I says, Lee, I said, do you have your mandolin? You know, he said, no. I said, do you have a bell like? No. What the hell are you doing sitting in the first part? He said, well, no, he got nervous because he had never been taught that way. You know. I said, here, give me the music. But I handed him the folio that says Guitar 1, and I circled it. And now this says Guitar 1. You read that, but play this music. You know. So, and that was the first company he had. And so that was pretty good there. I said, doesn't matter, at least we're playing the right part, but it says Guitar 1 on your stand. You'll feel better, you know. A lot of times you need, you know. So this is the first story I warned about. Now the good one was later we were doing a date for either David Sherman, Michelle LeGrand, one of the guys, and I was sitting alongside, that's the Warner Brothers story, the Beck story, you know the Beck story.
So you can finish the other one.
Well, that was primarily when I did the rock and roll solo.
Right.
Okay. Well, after, sure enough, one tune had a rock and roll solo. Well, normally I'm not going to take it. I'm going to give it to the guys. You know, everybody should play what they do best. I don't want to get embarrassed. You know. But it was too perfect. After he had pulled that, I said, just for that, I said, I'm going to do a rock and roll solo too. So I stood up and did all my acting. I did the whole, you know, career thing. Doing my Frank Zappa impression by doing that. It was unbelievable.
He learned.
No, but he did learn. He's learned after the second time I worked with him, the same thing going. And this was kind of, he had a pretty intro. He played the shit out of it, real nice. And it was like for one of them hot leaders that panicked. And I said, okay, can you do that without making a mistake? You know, I told him, yeah. I said, wait. I said, I bet you $1 you don't make this first stage when I'm going through it. Now, I know that shit, you know, the pressure, because first of all, you're alone, right? I said, now, so he said, I'll bet you $1. I said, now we'll see what happens. But don't forget, now, as soon as the light goes on and he puts the hands on, remember, you got 8 bars by yourself. A little squeak, you better avoid the squeaks. Sure enough, it was like perfect, like I wrote the book. He said, pow, terrible. Stop. I said, Lee, You made a mistake. You only $2. You want to go for $2? Yeah, $2. You got it. No. Wow. I said, hey, you better get your ass moving. Better get out of here. Let's go. So I took his $4 and I bought his breakfast at Burbank. He said, you learn anything today, kid? Oh, yeah, you learned it. But it's true, because you don't know until you're sitting in each position. Like, and that was great what I heard, what he did with him, because you do that. That's the way to do it. You know, like a guy's in trouble, whatever it is, there's nothing greater than to just say, hey, do this and I'll do it. I did that. I'll never forget, I might tell you this story, when a great classical player was happened to be in town doing a concert at one of them Dorothy Chandler Pavilion, one of them big shot places, you know, they sit by themselves on the stage. And so he was sitting on the stage, you know, and the producer heard him play, and he loved the way he played. So he hired him on a motion picture with me. He didn't know this guy knew these parts. He played beautiful. Now the guy's on the studio class. He don't know nothing about studio work. So he sit there, and here's all this part where the guy's absolutely petrified and panicked. He couldn't play. And I looked up, and the leaders there, don't worry. And I took all of this part, and I gave him all the E minor. And I played all that shit. And he did. Nobody was aware of it, including the producer. Nobody's aware that I took over the whole chair. Producer.
You cover
each other. You just cover it. Because let's say, at any given point, you're always in trouble. Somebody's going to be could be in trouble. And why make a big deal out of it? You know. In other words, I've always said, you get as a great player, or a better player, more experienced, you do it with the hands, not with the mouth. You know, that's what famous thing. You do it here. When a guy likes your playing, he'll hire me. When he likes his playing, he'll hire him. And that's all it is. But it's great to save guys, because when you've been there, you know what it is to save yourself.
That's
Yeah,
right.
like I said, that's a great story from Lee, because I love to hear that. You know,
Yeah.
especially when you do it without taking all the whatever you call that stuff, the clauses.
I got a tip for you about that. When Luke mentioned working for Gene Page, every once in a while you'll bump into a leader like Gene Page that has got a piano part. He writes out the 3 or 4 note chords all the way through the tune with rhythms, all the syncopated 16 shit. And when I was playing his days, there were 3 guitars on stage. There was David T, Wah, and me, and Ray Parker. There's 4 guitars in Wah. Well, obviously, I'm the guy that they're going to give the reading to. None of these other guys read. So I could either play whole notes with a phaser or flanger back then, or I could be reading this fly shit. So I figured out the way to read these parts. If you ever bump into a situation, here's how to do it. First of all, you're not going to look at block chords and try to make every note. Man, guitar players don't do that. I mean, that's just not, unless you're the bitch reader of life, man, it's just not going to happen. The way I learned to read those parts was there's a double stave thing, like a double stave master rhythm part. And this is typical for most staves. The piano part will be written in the treble clef, bass part will be in the bass clef. In the middle will be a rhythm guitar part written out if there's a rhythm guitar part they want. And what Gene would have me do is play the piano part, right? So what I do is I look at the top note of the chord, right? I see the chord symbols, the rhythms, you know, weren't that tough. So you just look at the top note and just voice down scale-wise. If you only catch 2 notes, great. After you hear the tune go down one time, you might make a few wrong guesses in the way the scales are moving. But just, you know, circle those bars and just remember that it's a funny scale and not the one you thought of, but the other version. And just voice around like that, even if you catch 2 notes. You know, try to catch 3, never more than 3. But that's a good tip if you ever run into those situations. Just look at the top note, read the rhythms, look at the chord symbol, and just voice down accordingly the way the scale is like to go. The only way you'll ever get out of that situation is if you're in it. You're sitting there trying to read it, man. You'll never make it.
If that doesn't work, there's something going to go wrong with your guitar amp.
Right, I can't, what was that again? Oh, God, I can't make this thing on it. I'm double booked. But anyway, you run a situation like that. That's the way. And don't let it scare you. It's not that tough. If you just, you know, lean into it looking like that. And Tommy's the first one to tell you, you can't let this shit be, you can't be afraid of this shit. There's a way through it. You can shuck your way through so much. More on TV days. I'll leave you out of this one. More in film and TV than records. Records is pretty straightforward kind of a thing. And if you're not qualified, you're there, and stuff, you know, that ain't it. But I mean, Tommy will tell you all about, I'm sure he has, about way to shuck scales, and you know, all you need to do is, especially in the funny double stuff. Let's see about this one.
I don't understand, because I do that every day I go to work. I just try to escape. Every day is an escape clause. That's all. As long as you're doing it, just never stop playing. Because while I said, you have a guitar in your hand, you got a part, right? Now, to get it down to the basics, you got a part, and no matter how hard it is, right? If you don't play it, you know, I mean, they already know you're not playing, because you're sitting there like an idiot. And look at it. So the idea is pick up the notes you can play. That's all. Pick up the notes and just play. I always play. There's no part that they can give me that I can't play. 1%, 90%, 3%, one note, two notes. I'm gonna play something. You know, if I play C, D, E here and I can't play that shit, I'll lay out until I find out some notes that I play. That's all. I've been doing it for 35 years. What are you gonna do? I mean, I know C, D, E. C, D, E. Oh, that's hard shit. That's too hard. I can't play. But I always know where I'm at. See, most guys, what happens? They go C, D, E. Oh, that peg. Then their peg. The band's down here. All the shit that they could play, they're up here staring at it. See, the worst part, when you can't read, when you have a mistake, for some hypnotic thing, you stare at that place you can't play.
That's true.
You stare at that. You play it, and you can't play it. I don't know what that. I never look at it. If I can't play it, I want to see it. I feel like I find myself where I always know where I am. Bar 21, bar 100, it doesn't matter. Sooner or later, you know where you are. Now you get the easy shit you play. Hey, you know, and just get out, go next. But if you start that, if you don't know where you're at, oh sure, and by the time you're through the ending, it's a disaster. Because all of a sudden the stuff you could have played, you blew because you're hypnotized by them 2 bars. You're still staring at them 2 bars. I don't know why.
Some guys,
Well, they don't know. They don't know. I learned because I like to do things and escape. That's all.
questions? Anybody? No questions?
How do you get?
Go ahead.
How do you get producers?
Does anybody in this room care about being a record producer at any point? Okay, I'll make this brief. I won't harken this too long. You know the easiest way to become a record producer is to be a shooting musician first, and or a songwriter. You don't get a chance. Nobody's going to go give you $200,000 to make an album as a record producer if you've got no kind of foundation for being one. Although there are some guys. There's some guys that have brought this off. It's probably the most elusive kind of job there is to get. But I was a studio player, and I decided, you know, that I was an arranger and a songwriter, you know, and I decided that I just didn't want to do this anymore, man. It was a glorified Lockheed job that, you know, that paid a lot of money. I mean, it was making me hate music. I just pick up the guitar at the date and play the same shit every day. One day I had on one of the 4 dates in a row days, I played the same part on every song and every day. It's got boring, man. So I wanted to be a record producer. So a guy by the name of Steve Kipner, a songwriter, knew my brother, and my brother ran this Holiday House by Jim, and he mentioned that I was getting into producing, and Steve came to me. I already had a record deal, so that was the beginning, and that got me another gig. I always had a recording studio in my house of some sort, so that's how it happened. Man, I'll tell you something. It's a rough job. It's way rougher than doing gigs in LA. Way rougher, man. Now I'm looking for the next move. I don't know what it is. Maybe I'll turn into a total asshole and be a record company executive.
I wanted to ask you something. You were on the Home Gardens movie, and
I don't know how you recognize that.
yeah, oh, he's my idol, and I'm a songwriter. I think he's really my idol, and I just can't imagine you working with a guy like that. You know, he's like a.
It was great. It was great. It was unbelievable experience because
And what was it like?
the drag was he had to wear these wigs and makeup shit. And
Why?
But it was part of this thing in this movie, right? But the really cool part about it was we were set up live.
Yeah, it was
And
all
like-
takes a lot of you to say.
And in between takes we were running down like every fucking Beatles tune I could ever imagine playing.
Really?
We were like playing this shit, man. It was like unbelievable.
That guy is.
He was really great. He
What's
was
he like,
nice.
man, in person?
He's really one of the nicest guys you ever meet in your life.
Really?
He's so unpompous, unegoed, he was like flattered that like, you know, all the guys in the band knew all those songs and he played the right change and stuff. He'd go like E minor, like, you know, and we'd all be there. Like, it was just simple stuff, but I mean, he remembered all that
I
stuff.
can't imagine playing with you.
He was great. I spent like 2.5 weeks with him every day, 16 hours a day.
Wow.
It was
I
intense.
envy you.
Take this, man.
I don't know what I did to deserve that, but
He lives in a little 4-bedroom house with no dining room, just a kitchen table, and drives around a Morris Minor in this little funky town outside of London, and that's his scene.
He's got 5 kids, you know. He's been through all the big
He
major.
doesn't care about that.
He's just freaking
Yeah,
his
he's
life.
put in a lot of aspects. I mean, that's something.
Yeah, he doesn't care about it. He's got a big,
No.
he's got the big place in London, man, and all over the world. He doesn't care. He's just a good
Simple
old
values, you know, like having a great wife and a bunch of great kids. You know, it really matters. You know, I mean, I just had a baby girl who's a year old, and it's really given me me a whole new set of values. You know, when you come home at night and she just kind of runs up and smiles at me. Yeah, that's like life is all about. You make yourself crazy worrying about shit that you can't change anyway. It's like, you know, I mean, everybody has the same worry. It's just a different scale or whatever. You know, it's all relative. You got to be happy in your own soul and your own heart in order for you to play.
I was reading an article that it was talking about you or something. He was saying how it all happened, how you met him and everything. Somebody asked you, like Paul sent somebody to get you or something. I don't know.
Well, what it was, I was playing a Michael Jackson's album, the Thriller record, and he was doing it soon, and he came into town, and of course he hired me for the day. And I was like, you know, totally starstruck. You know, how can you help not stare at Paul McCartney? Like, that's how I started playing music. Right? I had the Beatles, like, that's what I want to do.
That's exactly what you said.
You know, and like for me to be there, you know, it's like all I could do was dribble and like, yeah, he was like, yeah, but he came up to me. And then like, at the end of the day, like all of us all got Jeff there and Paige and all we got the, so we're like, you know, I have to get the sound. Sgt. Pepper's and George Martin was there. You know, and when I was there the whole time I was following George Martin and Jeff Emmerich around. Like, and I knew all that, and they've done talking about it. It wasn't a drag. Hey man, those are old tube desks and like big things. They didn't have synths, they didn't have like a lot of tracks to go around, so they created their own sound. They edit tapes together, they put things backwards, like they take a mishmash of tapes.
All is dead.
Yeah, all that shit's like bullshit. Right. That was the winter hell, man. And you listen to tapes and you rewind back and hear like a funny phrase.
Right.
And you go, what is that? And they never get it back again, but they cut off these tapes and paste them together every which way, backwards and forwards, and then they bounce it over to another machine 10 times, and then they create this big, like, white noise, weird sound. And that's how they created sounds from nothing. Whereas these days, everybody's got programmers and, you know, it reminds me of a joke. Like, what's the difference between a clitoris and a DX7? Every car has a DX7. You know what I mean?
Wait a minute.
More jokes, more jokes.
One time I worked with George Martin, right? A long time ago, I was working with some young kid. What the hell was his name? I think it was Jay Graydon, something like that. I'm working with this young hot kid, you know, sitting there, and I'm working with George Martin, and this kid Jay Graydon sitting alongside of me. Doesn't know too much at the time what to say, you know, right? So George Martin says, well, let's play this solo or something from here. He said, we got to do that English shit again?
Dumb English shit.
Some English shit, dumb
I'm
English
talking
shit.
with English,
He's talking
right?
to George Martin, he's talking...
Tedesco says, what did you do, man?
Don't do
you
that.
have any idea what
He's
you
calling
did?
dumb English shit.
See, I'm telling you, you got to be thinking. The dialogue is you got to really think before you open your mouth and
Guy
say
flew in
something
from
like that.
England
You
for
need
us.
to- I never saw him again.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Yeah. That reminds me of that. Leads me to another story. A typical Tommy Tedesco maintenance story on his instrument. This guy's instruments are the most anal instruments I've ever seen. They're all apart, right? So, we're at the
Like my
gig.
body, who cares?
So listen to this. Now, this story is insane. We're at the gig. We're at the Hollywood Bowl, and we're opening for America, that George Martin produced. And the reason why I was in the band is I was playing, you know the Jeff Beck tune, Diamond Dust, that thing in 5?
Yeah.
So I was playing that tune. That was why I was, you know, on the gig. So Tommy was playing all the other, you know,
Dumb English shit.
no, the dumb English and all the other guitar stuff, the hard stuff. Because we were playing with the fill for this gig, right? First of all, nobody shows up at the gig. It was really embarrassing to him. I mean, there's like 3 or 4 people in the Hollywood Bowl, and then when America comes on, the place starts filling up. Nobody came to see him, man. It was weird. So we're taking a break. We're rehearsing at the Bowl. We're taking a break, and Tedesco's got a Telecaster on the gig. I look over at the guitar after he sits down in his chair, and the E tuning peg, the high E tuning peg, is dangling by one screw, almost out. I mean, the thing is just ready to fall out. So I get out the tools and the screws, and I fix the guitar. I didn't even notice. And then I fix the guitar down. You know, I mean, if the string would have gone, it would have made no difference to him.
Now we went to the second string.
He would have gone. This is even better. He's on a date, and he's playing a 345, and all of a sudden, the amp starts humming. The chord was bad or whatever. He sets the guitar down, pulls out a 6-string bass, and plays a double bass up an octave, the whole bass. He's up there
Didn't
the whole
hum,
time.
though. Didn't hum.
Didn't hum, that's why he played the whole way. He played on the guitar chords like, man, I'm talking up here. He doesn't care. hey, shoot, whatever I got at the moment. I mean, can you imagine that? I mean, it was just probably a chord. I don't give a shit. Everything was plugged in. He fixed it up and gone.
The only reason, like he says, we spend all our life worrying about, that when it's going to crack. When it cracks, then I worry. It never cracks. Nothing ever happens. And when it happens, that's the one I'll start worrying about that shit.
Now the last Tedesco story of gimmickry here. No, I could go on forever.
No, but
All right.
go eat.
But they're good. Really back for a second.
All this
Enjoy the
dedication.
story.
I know.
Enjoy the story. So we're on a date for Streisand. And he brings his gut string. It's 100 degrees outside. And the studio's about 50. He brings his gut string in. And he pulls it out of the case, and there's 3 broken strings. He says, geez, I can't figure this out. I said, geez, Tom, it was only 100 in your trunk, and you bring it in at 50-degree temperature. So I give him my gut string, right? So that's all. He loves gut string. He don't give a shit about nothing else. So the guy says, the leader says to Tommy, big orchestra. It's got to be 50 men. He says to Tommy, 12 string in this tune. Tedesco goes, right. Takes the gut string, okay, picks it back up. Right? Nothing. Nothing. The guy doesn't even know. Plays the tune, no problem. The guy says to Tommy, 6-string bass, whatever the hell, mandolin, whatever. Tommy's right. Puts the gut string back in the case, pick it right up. You know, gut string on the shit. Nobody knew this shit didn't matter. You know? Oh, God. Anyway, I could go on forever.
Well,
Only you could get away.
Well, no, I'm the only one who's got the balls to pull that off. Other guys could get away with it, and they're afraid to try it the first time.
So, you know, like, when you get in there, the whole reason for all this shit is, like, there are rules you can break. You just can't take everything rigid, you know. The hardest thing to say and do is, like, hey, as soon as you get in there, loosen up, you know, because that ain't going to happen.
That's what the doctor said right before he threw it.
Loosen up.
I mean, we have a good time. Go ahead, man.
Let's say you have great singer, great song, you got the ingredients, starting ingredients is like getting a contract.
Getting a deal?
Getting a deal.
Right.
How would you go for like a finished master and present that to companies? Or like what's like
All right, this is a whole, these rules have changed.
Good question.
Let me start again. Okay, here's the deal is, man, about 10 years ago, the song didn't matter. All that mattered was the singer. 15 years ago. That's totally changed, man. You got to now have the songs, first of all. Because the record company doesn't want to go around looking for tunes, you know. You want the song, and you don't want to come in with a schlock demo. You could have in the past. If a guy had the right look in certain teen eras, there's been so many shit singers, man. Lace Garrett, Sean Cassidy, all these guys. Just shit singers. How many guys deal with Madonna? I mean, how many people can deal with Madonna? That's a pet peeve of mine. But anyway. You got to go in with the shit sounding like a record, unfortunately, and it's very hard and it's expensive, and hopefully you got some money behind you, man.
You have to have a studio, though.
Right. Anybody can come over and use it tonight. It's fine, you know. Go ahead, Luke. So, you know. Yeah, it's tough.
You don't have to overproduce it, though. You know, as long as it sounds good, you know, and you get your points across, you hear the words, you hear the melody, and there's some kind of a nice little arrangement. You don't have to go over the top with facts and all that stuff.
It's very hard to get a deal now. Anybody that's even thinking about this, it's very hard to get a commercial deal. It's almost impossible. You've got to be...
Lawyers are running the record companies, not like people that musical people. And it's just the numbers to them. You know, when that number doesn't make money anymore, it's really kind of disheartening. It's discouraging when they say, well, no, this is the single. And, it's like, you go up to the bag lady on the street, you get more input. I mean, not all of them, but a great deal of them are like they're corporate lawyers, and they got into
accountants and lawyers.
It's a business scene, not a musical scene. There was in the old days, like these that prestigious artists, and they did that, and they developed it. The first record didn't happen, they developed it, and they believed in you. Now it's like, you get your shot, if it doesn't work out, man, next, then you have to change your name and your look, and then try it again. Go ahead.
Do you have to be in LA to make it?
If you want a record deal, you don't have to be in LA, but if you
live in New York, Nashville.
You need to at least look. If you really want to make it in the business part of the music business, you've got to be in the big town. If you just want to be in you could have a band like we were talking about, Minneapolis, whatever, man. You could have a good band and get a deal, and then eventually you have to move to one of these big towns. But I'll tell you, man, if you can make it in another town and you're happy, man, playing, and you're really grooving, boy, I'd say that's the way to go. The grind in this town, man, it sucks. You know, think what Luke was talking about, you know, about all of our, and Tommy, you know, about all of our, the trip in life that we've gone through, being studio players and getting back to music again. I'm the only guy that hasn't done it yet. And I think about it every day. But, no, man, if you want to record deal, yeah, fuck it. I'll just be a whore for another day, man. I'll make a whore by standing vertically, not horizontally, you know. But, yeah, you got to be an LA man.
Let me just say this, though.
To get the deal.
To kind of straighten out what we're talking about. To me, that's like a guy standing there with a groovy wife. You ever see a guy, the most beautiful thing you ever saw in your life, right? And everybody's going looking at it. Beautiful girl, beautiful girl. In the meantime, the guy's saying, get out of my way. He's telling his wife. Everybody says, how can you do it? That's what they're doing. You see, they're talking about a music business they're used to and I'm used to. You ain't been there, so you gotta earn this feeling, this thing. In other words, it doesn't make sense to you, but it sure makes sense to them and me. It's like Herbie Alpert, I'll never forget, 10 years ago, whenever it was, when he had his first time that it looked like he was all through. What was Herbie through? I remember before Rise was collapsing. He quit his band, he stopped the band. And everybody's looking at Herbie, oh my God, how can you stop the band? You're making $20 million a year, and how can you stop the tour? Nobody can tell that man, because he was involved, he was through at that time. You follow that? And all of us are sitting there, how can a guy, he's selling out all these joints, he's doing that. He was through mentally, they're through, I'm through mentally. We can talk all we want, you know. I gotta look weird, I'm doing what I loved at 16 now. Except I ain't making my $20. I'm doing it for 10 now, you know. But the idea is I've been through that shit. I've earned my right to go, you know. Where you guys are starting, all you can do is if you got a crack, it's the greatest thing in the world to be a studio player. If you got it, whether it's 1 year, 2 years, 20 years, once you got it, then you can make up your mind, you know. Or with a group, There's nothing great. To me, to make it is if you're being yourself. You know, I made a hit record, right? Called the Twining 12 Great Hits of Tommy Tedesco, 1962. A piece of shit. It's unbelievable. But you know what? They says, hey, play it. Try to tell you to play high, bend 3 notes, and it's a god-awful album. But that wasn't me. Now I'm doing me. I'm playing out me. My guitar is me. Everything is me. Doesn't matter in one way. But you see, that's 20 years and 30 years later. Is this 8 years later? Is this 10 years later? You follow me? But you got to go through your own, paying your own dues at each one of these levels. We can tell you all that stuff, but until you become a studio pro, and I'll never forget, I had a cousin visit me. I'm doing the Emmy Awards, CBS Emmy. I'm sitting there, and this guy comes in from Niagara Falls, New York. He's sitting in the audience. He sees me with the stupid tux and tie, and I'm going, and he's looking at me like, oh my God, oh, you know. I'm thinking, does he have any idea how terrible this feels for me to be here? Because I could see in his eyes, I'm like a big wheel doing this great TV show. And I'm saying, I want to get my ass out. Like the Grammys, I did the Grammys, right? I still would have talked. The only difference, I wear this hat on the Grammys. That's the only difference between me and 20 years ago. I do it for the 1800 that night. But everybody else said, oh man, it was glorious to be with that. Shit, they all think I'm one of the wrestlers of Cyndi Lauper. What do you think? I think I'm Cyndi Lauper's wrestler when I do it. Nobody knows who the hell I am. But that doesn't say I'm there for 1800. I don't give a shit about nothing else. And it's nice. Hey, strides. Hey, that's, you follow me? But until you're there, when you're outside and walking in, you got
not to discourage you.
Yeah, you got to do your own thing step by step. And God forbid, if you ever get a crack at any of the stuff we're talking, run like a son of a bitch for it, because it's a bitch. Yeah. And then it's great to say, yeah, I don't dig it, like we're doing. But you got to, you're into to make a buck, play your guitar, play behind trees. I play behind trees for $5, and I'm having a ball. That's it. Are you having a ball? I'm not one of these artistic bullshit guys. If I sit behind a tree and I'm having a ball, I don't give a shit what anybody says. But I ain't the first one. If I sit behind a tree, hey man, nobody digs me. I'm not having a ball. Then get your ass out somewhere else then. You follow what I'm trying to say? No matter if it's rock or jazz or classical, if you're not having a ball where you're at, try and move on to something else. And that's what we're doing. Money, like I'm saying, I have a ball for $1,000. Much more ball than if I did the same thing but they couldn't hire me for $50 to do the shit I do $1,000 for. You know what I mean? That's what I do my own thing wherever I'm at. Be to yourself. You know what I mean? Well, like I say, Steve already said he missed playing, and he explained he feels good now he's playing, but because he's been through the other thing too. Like remember he said earlier, he wanted to be a studio player, am I right?
Oh, yeah.
Sure, you want that, but until you get there. Like I said, I know when I was 7 years old, I would say, I can't wait till I work at Paramount. I know, I was 7 years old playing the guitar, I can't wait till I work at Paramount doing a picture call, you know. Right? So like I say, these are all things. You're here because you're musicians. You want to play, and I don't give a shit where is it. Just do your own thing. You know, whatever it's going to be. Whether it's here in Minneapolis, you know, smog, no small trees, no trees, money. Every job you go is for a different reason. You know, everyone you do it. You know, and I react differently at every job. Grammy Awards, I'm a wrestler. I don't give a shit. I'm there for $1,800. Let me in the back. I don't even pull that ego shit. You know, oh, there you go. I'm an artist. What do you want to do? I don't do none of that shit. That don't mean nothing to me. You know, half the time they think I'm there to move the piano. That's okay, too. Where do you want the piano moved to? That's my funny line. You should see the funnier shit when I'm moving the piano. And everybody's cracking up. I love that shit. That don't mean nothing to me because the guy thinks I don't belong. It don't mean a thing to me. You know, but you go wherever, you know.
I got something to throw in there. It was the date for you for George Benson.
Yeah.
Remember, and I'm show off like I'm not the best dressed guy in the world. I had like ripped up jeans on, a t-shirt. You know,
I don't remember the story.
I don't even think you were there. But George comes in like $500 suit on. You know what I mean? He's carrying his clothes with him, and I'm there sticking on. He thought I was like, you know, the guy
The
sitting over
valet.
here. So he goes, would you mind taking my clothes out of the car? I said,
Okay.
and then I sat down and picked up my guitar. You got to go, Luke, what's happening? And like, you were playing on here? No, he did not. He put it together. And I just fucking goes out to the car.
Then when Lukather started playing Benson with the control, I said, that little white boy can play. So what's he doing on the day? What do you mean? Of course he can play. You guys want to talk any subjects we move on to? Or go ahead.
When you write, where do you start from? Like the harmony? Or
Good question, Boney.
Jennifer Pony for me and listen. No, that's no. You know, writing is such an elusive thing. Like, you know, it cracks me up with lyrics to say, hey, I got this lyric, I want you to write the melody for it. I can't do that. It comes from chord changes, and, you know, I mean, I sit on a bank, I get a groove going. A little groove and a couple of changes, whatever. Just one change, whatever. You just start messing around with the melody, you know? And tunes can develop, boy. That, you know, I'll tell you something. Songwriting is the easiest. If any of you think that you have the ability to write, you know, you should do it. For whatever reasons. It's one of the most satisfying outlets, number one. I'm not talking just commercially. I'm just talking writing, period. It'll take it to new places, boy. It's a neat thing. But for writing commercially, you know, just come up with a groove, get a nice little groove. If you got a drum machine, you're always better off. If you got something to play, you know, keep time, you know, while you're working the part out. Plus, you know, you can experiment with different grooves. I always start with the drum machine groove as soon as I just get a couple changes I like, and then work from there. Come up with the melodies, work on it. Sometimes tunes come fast, sometimes they take forever. You know, fortunately, I've had some success as a songwriter, and I'll tell you, songwriting, like for example, the guy that wrote "I Love Lucy," right? I think the guy's dead now, but I mean, the guy was making over 100 G's a year forever. Errol Garner, "Misty," right? I mean, that tune is one of the most played songs of all time. When we were at the ASCAP Awards the other night, I mean, White Christmas has sold 100 million plus singles. Think about that. Right. You know how that story went down? No. Anko had an office next door to Carson's, or was hanging out somewhere. And when he got the show, he said, I'm going to hustle it. Anko's a hustler, boy. And he came up with, ba-da-da-da-da. That's all he had, right? Whenever Carson said, yeah, Carson liked it. I want to be part writer. And Carson was on it too. Didn't do dick, and that was it. And Anko makes 50 G's a year from that for that many years. Songwriting's lucrative, I'm telling you. It's probably the most lucrative of all the jobs, other than being an artist that has a long career. Yeah.
I'm a songwriter myself, as I said. And I've been going to like songwriting showcase, you know.
That's good stuff.
And with songs that I've written, I've gone to the studio and done the instruments. What else can I do to try and get ahead or get signed with a publishing company or whatnot? You know?
Well, go meet with the publishers. You know, just make an appointment with all of them. It's not that hard to get a publishing deal if they think there's any potential. And you can get a little salary of, $15,000, $25,000 a year. If you think you've got it and they think you've got it.
Don't say little. That's nice.
Well, I'm not. Yeah,
I'll do it for $7 for my phone. I just wrote jingle bells.
What do you think the royalties are on something like that? I mean, is that TV yet? Who knows? But it's kind of. So you know, songwriting is really a good thing. Really good money-making thing, and also fun and creative, you know. It's hard to get tunes placed, because that's the hardest part. You'd be better off with a publisher if you were qualified, you know, really. Go ahead.
You want to find publishers and you do your own song? Should they have a studio quality, or if you have one of the 4 tracks?
This is another tough thing. 15 years ago, a piano demo was fine.
Yeah.
But most producers now, including me, I'm guilty of the same thing, man. I've got, you know, I make records the way I make them. I've got my pet synthesizer sounds. I've got my pet ways of doing things. I'd rather have the demo. I'd rather make the record like the demo. The demo's killing me. You know, and I love the song and I love the arrangement. Boy, I'd just rather cop the way the demo's done, pretty much. You know, change things around that aren't suited to me. And most guys are like that. Richard Perry is exactly like that. The guys that do the demo go make the record for him. He doesn't give them any production, but they go make the record for him, and he shows up when he feels like it, you know. It's important, man. I mean, a 4-track demo could still work, though. If it, you know,
It sounds good, man. You can do a lot of great things.
a lot. You can. It's
The
don't let me
quality of
discourage
it was a
on
lot
that.
better than it was like 5, 6 years ago.
And I suggest, I'm telling you, man, it's a good outlet for all you guys, especially your guitar players that are really into playing the guitar, not worrying about being so much studio players or whatever, but do have a songwriting ability, boy, it could straighten you out. It's a real good way to make money if you're talented, I'm telling you. And anybody's got a chance. Anybody's got a chance at any time. That magical tune comes up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've got some friends that are staff writers, like Warner Brothers. How would you go along getting into that? You know?
Well, you just make a meeting with them. You know, you bring your songs to them. Say, I want a publishing deal. Do you like my stuff? If you want to sign me, fine.
So you take them to the company,
You go to call up Warner Brothers on the phone and you talk to somebody there. Yeah.
What do you have to have when you present that stuff to them?
Whatever you've got. I mean,
Did you have
they
it all
don't need
printed
to
out?
What?
In sheet music, should you have it all printed
No,
out?
don't worry about sheet music. They take care of that part. All you need is the demo. You know, play them in just a piano demo. If they think the song's there, but obviously the better the demo, the better.
Would you worry about copyrighting that stuff before you
Absolutely.
to people?
Absolutely.
There's a real cheap way to copyright stuff that won't cost you money.
Well, I
You
mean,
mail it to yourself and then keep it in the envelope and the stamp on the date. Until you get going, that's the best thing to do. And I'm going to tell you something else. Let me tell you something else that's very important. If you think somebody stole 4 bars of your melody, and there's no way they would have heard the tune, a lot of people go out and try to sue people. Lukather's in a lawsuit. I was in a lawsuit. I ate it bad. We both ate it more than the tune even paid. By some young writer that thinks that the tape got to you one way or another, and they which it didn't, and then they get some lawyer, there's some hotshot young lawyer that thinks he's going to make a name for himself to go in there. We have to hire lawyers that cost $200 an hour. You know, anybody that ever gets on that trip, and your name will be totally destroyed in this town. Those names
Unless it's a
travel around.
legitimate rip-off.
Unless it's a legitimate, if you gave a guy, Huey Lewis, a tape and he ripped you note for note, that's another story, and you know he listened to it. You know, that's a very touchy area. I'm going to tell you right now, it's a real bad thing to do.
What
There's
happened better than that, man? It's like they use these jingles, like for TV, like Coca-Cola commercials and stuff like that, and they take whatever the
all
top
the time.
They did that to us twice, man. And as a matter of fact, one of them was a Sprite commercial. They used to sing Rosanna, right? And the whole rap was like, "Hi, we're studio musicians behind the scene," and you hear the fucking groove going on, and they change like 2 notes.
That's suable now. It's something like that.
and it makes us. I mean, to the average person, they go, "Oh, that's all now."
I
You know, and we never did that. And we're in a lawsuit for 3 years already. You know what I mean? You know, and it's just like that. You have to go for it because it's your game, and it's just a matter of somebody kicking you, you know, kicking dirt in your face. You know? I mean, and the average listener, because if they only last for like, you know, a couple of months, and then it goes away, and then they use somebody else's tune. That kind of shit's really fun.
It's not fair. I have to tell you one story. Years ago, Alan Paul and I wrote this tune called Twilight Zone. It was the Twilight Zone. It was a record with a Manhattan Transfer. It was a 6-minute dance record. And I worked my butt off on this thing, boy. I mean, it was a lot of fun. It was great. But we tried to get the business straight before the record was released. Now, obviously, everybody thinks Bernard Herrmann wrote the theme of Twilight Zone. You see Twilight Zone, you see Bernard Herrmann's name, right? So when we make the deal with CBS Publishing, who handles his estate, they wouldn't give us a publishing license, but they would take 1/3 of the money. See, we split it up in thirds. I had a third, Ellen had a third, and we were going to give a third to Bernard Herrmann's thing. Now, Bernard Herrmann's thing is only in the minute of the song, which is 6 minutes in. Obviously, it was inspired by him and all that. We could never figure out why CBS wouldn't give us a license for the song, but wanted payment for a third. We come to find out that Bernard Herrmann didn't write the theme to Twilight Zone. He bought it for $250 from some guy in France.
You didn't know that?
I didn't know this, man.
Go ahead.
All right, so now what happened was this. There was no reason for him to sue us for the record because maybe he didn't even know about the record, this French guy, or it wasn't worth the amount of money. But when the movie came out, this guy surfaced with some major lawyers and sued the shit out of the movie company. So while they're on that, why not come to us and sue us? Now this is where the real bitch occurs. And this is just typical business, boy. All right, so he wanted a third of the song. So we said to CBS, give him your third that you took. You haven't done shit for this third. We worked our butts off, man, and you got a third. They go, fuck you. He's going to sue you guys. We don't care. And that's what went down. And I've had my money held from Atlantic Records for Manhattan Transfer, all royalties for 3 years. To this day, I still haven't gotten a penny of the royalty debt. I'm going to end up, this tune's going to end up, with the lawyer's fees, I'm in the hole. I'm behind on it. So it's a real, you got to watch out for this kind of stuff. I mean, this is an awkward situation. This isn't, we weren't trying to rip anybody. We were just trying to be fair. And then CBS has ended up ripping us. Just watch your business moves. Protect yourself. If you get into any writing situation, just cover yourself. I tell you, it's an awful feeling because you're out there creating and doing that work, and somebody's coming along trying to screw you around every corner. And believe me, those people are everywhere. So, yeah.
I copyright my songs in the Form PA before I showcase them at the Songwriter Showcase.
That's legit.
That's the hit way.
Like I go to the Songwriter Showcase and they say this is a tape number, blah blah, the title. And I see people writing titles down all over the place. I'm like, what are they doing? As long as you get a copy, what are they doing?
But you get the titles, man, it's unbelievable. You can't copyright a title, really. I've seen 3 tunes in the chart with the same title.
Yeah.
3 different songs, So that's a rough area.
Form PA. Yeah, that's what.
Yeah. Let's start talking about the guitar some more here. What kind of questions we got on guitars?
Stairway to Heaven thing you did?
You guys, I don't know, there's a whole bunch of people on Stairway to Heaven. Oh, yeah, the thing I did with Bobby? Yeah. Okay, let me tell you about that. I didn't play it.
Bobby who?
Tim.
Oh.
That wasn't me? Yeah, no, that wasn't me. I did solo on it. They didn't keep it. They used some other ring.
Your name on it?
Yeah, they put my name on it so they sold some more records for Bobby's on the band when they played it.
Oh, okay.
That's perfect.
It wasn't a good solo, so I hope everybody thinks that was me. They just know that.
Go ahead.
What do you guys think of Corey's Smith guitar?
Neither have I. Has anybody out there heard of a guy named Michael Hedges?
Yeah.
Man, Dean Park's tremendous. Have you heard this record? I gotta lay this record on you. This guy's an acoustic guitar player.
I've heard of him.
This guy is unbelievable. And man, I'm thinking, no squeaks. Finally, I heard one squeak. And I said, this has got to be 2 guitars. I mean, thinking it might even be 3 guitar parts, man. This guy is ridiculous. If anybody hasn't been hip to him, you should listen to him. Acoustic guitar is a hard-ass instrument to play. I'm not talking about gut string. I'm talking steel string. Yeah.
Do you have any insights into, like, him and Alex DeGrasse, the whole Wyndham Hill new acoustic guitars and all that?
I know nothing about this. I didn't even have that Stanley Jordan's album until last week, I don't concentrate in that area of stuff anymore, and I should, man, because these guys sound like they're having fun. And they're playing their ass off.
Some new things,
There's so many young guitar players that are coming up, man, that are good musicians, boy. It's amazing to me. And I bet you, Tommy, you said that from every era, too, though.
Well, yeah, they constantly do, just like the changing. They just come to happen. Like this afternoon, we were in here, Fender was over here today. We were picking some of the, like the winners of this GIT Fender contest, and they had some stuff from Europe. There was a 17 or 18-year-old kid that was with Stanley Jordan, except better. He just took it a little farther. There was a while to hear some of these things.
Did he win?
No, he didn't win because there was a guy from England who just destroyed it.
Bebopper?
No. Strictly Van Halen.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, well, it was like phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, because I usually hear phase 1 over and over again.
Right. He built it.
Yeah. And so there was a couple things there. But it's funny hearing, that's when you really hear the tapes from, when you're hearing from all over the world, from different guys, It took Stanley Jordan, like this kid went and he did it different.
You know, there's another thing to think about too. You guys are fusions players and guys that play live a lot. Typically, you know, everybody wants to be louder, you know, in a band, you know. And you play louder, the drummer wants to play louder, the bass player wants to play louder. I heard Scene Win in the band that Jerry Hay was in and a bunch of people years ago, the Baked Potato. And when I walked in that club, man, I could not believe the dynamics of the band. Did you ever hear them play there?
Yeah, I did.
Man, it was like perfect dynamics. I mean, you know, they were playing, not only playing the music together, they were playing their volumes together properly. And there was, things built up and came down and built up. You know, when you're playing in these situations, you've got a marshal and you're playing in some little club, you got to figure out a way to, you know, use another speaker cabinet with it or something, so you won't be blasting the whole band out. All that sensitivity amongst the players is so important.
Was that recently?
No, years ago, man. I haven't been in a nightclub in so long. I don't know what band is doing it, you know, properly.
Whatever happened to Stephen Detroit?
Well, you know, they had a deal. They made some records. It was too hip, man. You know, Joe General does not know from hip. You know, Joe General likes to hear a few chords and a melody and a memorable lyric, a memorable melody. You know, I mean, look at the charts, man. You never hear, you know, something musical comes down, it's Stevie, and that's about it. You know, and even he, I mean, like at the ASCAP Awards, the biggest played song last year was like "Call to Say I Love You," right? Just "Call to Say I Love You." Probably his worst song is a substance song, right? But that just goes to show you, man. You know, when it comes to the radio and records, boy, that simplicity and Stevie was just too musical. Pages. I made a record with Pages a few years ago. Boy, I love working with these cats, man. These guys are musical monsters. Rich Page and Steve George, just great players and great musicians, boy. But their shit didn't come around until they simplified it up. Now they're stars, you know, with simple songs. So, you got questions?
With the talking about, you know, playing too loud and with the suggestion
I don't know if he's not talking to me.
No, I was thinking about
Talk to Lukather about that.
Man, I love to play loud.
I know that having your sound cut through without being too
Yeah,
loud.
well, that's frequency response. You know, I mean, that's like you can play loud without it hurting, and the pain range is somewhere between 1K and 5K, which is the mid-range area. Like the main and hardcore. If you back that off, you can play louder without it tearing people's faces off. You know what I mean? And without it, like being able to blend. The question is like when to play loud and not when. If you play loud consistently all the time, then what happens is you start hearing white noise. You can't hear one note from another, especially if you play fast. And everybody's like, you know, for the first 10 minutes, you're going, oh yeah, it's happening. And then later you're going like, when you walk out of there, feeling like somebody got their socks in your ears.
So sometimes it just seems like they won't hear you unless you're playing too loud, and then if you are playing too
Well, it's like
loud,
for solos, you should do it.
Not
For
cutting
solos should be loud.
Yeah.
But other times, play back. Let everybody else see. If your solo is your solo.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be the feature thing.
Then start the solo low, man. If the drummer, you're into your solo, and some guy just finished and the drummer still rolls, bring him down, man.
Yeah.
Signal him to come down. Let the shit go up and down, man. You know, let some dynamics be in there. And if the piano player is consistently playing too loud or something, you know, the synth guy, whatever, you know, as a band, as a unit, you got to work that shit out. Don't do it in a negative sense, you know. But I mean, that comes off so much more pro-like. You know, it's amazing how much
Musical.
It's musical, right? Yeah, well.
I thought it was my sound because I wasn't playing loud. I mean, I couldn't hear me on it, playing loud, but it was too loud for everything. You know what I mean?
You know what we're talking about, this capacitor. So you have a Fender amp?
No.
What do you have?
What's the CD right now?
Well, I'm sure that the tone circuit is the same kind of configuration as the Fender, where you can select where the treble control is accentuating. So if you're too piercing, then with a capacitor switch, you can make the accentuation occur lower to the high ear strings and E strings, and so piercing, you know? Captain Ace was there too?
Oh yeah, everybody's good.
And he actually made it work better than we did. But, you know, both of them, we were playing.
I've been playing for a long time. I like, you know,
They like a guitar.
the feel of it, you know, we get to like play like stiff, like this.
Yeah, it's just
They haven't
there.
made the right one yet. You know?
No.
I figured for 10 grand to roll a joint and wipe the rats.
Anyway, I was gonna. The other thing about guitar synth.
Well, let me mention this because of that one that I tried the other day. You know when you said when you bend up
Right.
and it gets triggered off another note?
Right.
There's a setting for that on that behind it is.
I have to see
I
that.
haven't seen the ivory.
Yeah, well, the reason I said because they have a setting, and you set it for if you want to bend third or fourth, no matter where you bend, you set it, then it won't set up a note until after that.
Now there's still one
Well,
major
no, I'm just
problem.
saying that.
Well, I want to see yours. Because, I mean, somebody told me
You can't play
you
fast.
just
It doesn't track well. Nothing really tracks well, especially the MIDI stuff. It's hard enough for the keyboard players, going down to keyboard players. For them, you get the MIDI things where like all of a sudden one note gets set off to the third, doing the show, and says, it's like F sharp against an F or something like that. Holding forever, it'll last like MIDI madness. I the keyboard. Which one is it?
You just get out there cranking. The other thing about it is there's two bad factors. If the instrument directly was connected to a digital oscillator of some sort, it would still, the lower the note you play on the string, the pitch to voltage conversion, or whatever way they're using, still has to count vibrations. It needs to count at least 2 beats of its vibrating thing to know what note it is. All right, that takes time. And the lower the note, the slower it takes. So if you play one of these things long enough, you're going to rush like mad down the low string. You're going to be pretty cool on the top string. Now we're talking about all these instruments are MIDI, right? Well, the fastest synthesizer there is the DX7 MIDI and the overhung expander. It's 15 milliseconds before anything happens, minimum. There's a window. The way MIDI works is they designed it totally stupid. When these people got together, they didn't think it was going to catch on. All the manufacturers got together, and they designed it like totally wrong. It's serial. Everything's lined up in a row. All the notes come in lined up. If you play more than one note, it's got to wait till the other guy gets in there first. And then because of this design, they had to use a thing called a compiler that holds all these notes up, that gets loaded into it, and then about every 10 milliseconds cycles and spits them out. Now, you might get one note that happens right away. If you just happen to hit the compiler in its last millisecond before it spits out. But all this shit's random. You can't control it. So MIDI is a joke in design. They could have done it so much better. The baud rate's too low. It was a joke. They didn't think it was going to take off. Now they're in trouble. And older synthesizers where it was an afterthought are way worse than new ones. Like, like the Prophets, man. You could go out and eat dinner and come back and the note hasn't gone off, I mean, I'm telling you, it's a joke. So when you're learning to play these guitar synths and you feel you're lagging behind the time, when you're practicing by yourself, no problem. You start playing with the drummer boy and the shit's squeaking late, so you're going to start rushing. What happens when you pick up your guitar? You play the guitar synthesizer long enough, you're going to be rushing like mad. And you get the guitar.
Okay, the top 3 strings with that new, I'm talking Ivan.
Right.
They have a controller that sets it off when you play. And and I don't hustle Ivan because I don't give a shit about any of this stuff. But there's was a wild improvement in that.
But Tommy, it still has to go through MIDI, which is still going to be an uneven delay.
I don't know about that. Let me tell you, we did it the other house. It's some bebop shit with John Kerner. And believe me, we MIDI my ass and all that stuff in a row. And I played its ass off. And when it was up, and an organ sound about this time, it's amazing. And there was a little thing that did it all here. Over here, it was no.
one sound.
No. I'm talking about with the Yamaha. It's with the Yamaha. The XF. With the organs, there's
2 or 3 gigs.
What do I give a shit about the other one? I don't know what I'm meaning.
One synthesizer that works.
Oh, you were talking about
No, it's still with one.
I don't want to work with two
Delayed
middies.
the first one.
Well, I'm going to tell you, like I said,
Tom, you got one thing you're missing. You're playing bebop. I'm talking about these guys making a living with guitar scenes in the studio.
oh shit, they ain't gonna, nobody stands a chance taking
Who knows what's going to happen? I mean, guys are trying to use
Nobody's that dumb yet. It's going to take over there. I just can't believe
It won't.
That's what I'm saying.
The time is so uneven. I mean, you're better off hitting the keyboard. It's much more precise.
Yeah, see, I was just talking about it's a different instrument because each time, like I say, when I fooled around with the other one, with Roland, and the synthetics, and all of them, every one, until this switch came over, because they used to trigger when you hit it.
Right.
Now, trigger early, trigger late, range. Okay, now this one goes like this. And you turn it a little bit, turn it.
It's a sensitivity.
Yeah, that's right. And each guy that's tried the thing so far, and
I'm curious.
Well, no, I know that's where I was curious too. Yeah. It just come out. It still ain't a killer. Don't get me wrong. But what the few things that, like the bottom notes, you can forget.
Yeah, they're too slow.
They're too slow, the bottom one. But when you count these things, it's wheels, it's
There's
axles.
a way to do it.
Yeah,
There is
well,
a way to make a guitar synthesizer that
Well,
will
I mean,
work.
only for that, you know. And like I say, my feeling is sooner or later they'll do it. But like I say, I think of that as, like I said before, it's another instrument. You want to have a good time, you know.
So
Just a good time, nothing else.
Any of you guys that are great designers, I want to tell you how one can be made. I don't know why anybody's not tried this. You got to wire the frets. When you fret the note, you got to know what the note is. Now, the pitch is going to be the sensitivity, like we say. That I don't know how to deal with. But not only do you wire the fret for the note, but the actual pitch to voltage converter still works to know when you're bending and to set that properly. And you know the other thing about all this guitar stuff, that is the way that it will eventually be done right. But the thing about this guitar synthesizer is, why have a guitar synthesizer that's not a guitar? I want to play it as a guitar with the synthesizer. Isn't that the whole idea?
Yeah,
I mean, isn't that the whole reason to have it?
it's real mushy, man. You start putting those two sounds together, like a burn sound on the very normal guitar, and you add like some other filtering sound.
But all this guys, is this Ibanez? Is this a guitar too?
It's a guitar.
It's a guitar too. It acts as a guitar, the Ibanez.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
mixer on it.
they're mixed with it, yeah, but I don't
Right.
even use it.
Right. Well, that was my only reason for wanting to use them together. I thought mixing the sounds properly would be effective. But what did you think of the guitar act? Or the what the hell is this thing called? The Syntax? When you played it, do you think it was a piece of shit?
Yeah, you couldn't believe it, that dog was a piece of shit.
Yeah. Well, we like it, huh?
I know, it's nice. I like mine too.
There's a new unit out called, or it's going to be out pretty soon. They're having a kind of a demo showing tomorrow night. Yeah.
Which one?
It's
Photon?
yeah.
A piece of dog doo-doo.
Whoa.
Hey.
I'll tell you what, I was at the show, and I wanted to see that very thing.
They lied.
It didn't work.
Yeah, you know why it didn't work? They told somebody that the RAM was stolen. The RAM cartridge, they didn't have it. First of all, they were lying to everybody at the show. How can you trust these people? Plus, my good buddy that is a real good designer, has designed a lot of synthesizers that are out there on the market, says the guy's scamming. It's the same old pitch to voltage shit. But see, his scam was put a high E string on every string. But then you can't use it like a guitar. And you don't want to feel that. It doesn't feel right, man. It's another pitch to voltage
Although it's,
conversion.
it's unfair for us to say.
It's going to be slow unless you play it like that. This is a fact. It's got to count the frequency. Sorry. Go ahead. I'm
Well,
done.
I was just saying that, for now,
It's awfully expensive for something that doesn't quite work right.
And I'll tell you one other thing, man. Beware of small companies. Small companies do not have the money. Like, nobody could ever come up with a DX7 other than Yamaha. Yamaha spent millions and millions in the design of the
Other things before you break it back down to the DX7.
Right.
Like affordable.
And the only reason why it is affordable is they own every factory that makes everything in the instrument. They don't farm out anything. The whole unit is one chip, basically. The whole gut's one chip, and they own the factory that makes it. So they have made their money back on it. Nobody ever thought they would. They sold over 1 million DX7s. Think about that. I mean, over 1 million synthesizers.
It's back to an old joke.
Yeah, I'm a little upset about what you have to say about the syntax. Have you heard what Alan Holdsworth's doing with it?
He likes it.
I haven't heard all
have you heard the tracking of it?
What I'm saying is,
quite
when
incredible.
I played it, it didn't work for me at all.
Not for me.
And
either.
Alan plays.
Wait, I'm curious. Like, how does it work for him? Like,
Because he doesn't
why
pick
do you
every,
make
he doesn't
that?
pick every note. He plays a lot.
Did it really? Yeah, it really comes
So
out.
that's
Though.
it. It's the picking action that makes it tough to track. The way Alan plays, I mean, from what I've seen, and I love to play. I think he's a
Great
giant
guitar player.
giant, one of the best I've ever heard.
But okay,
He
the end
plays a lot
result.
of hammer-ons, like, without picking. Like, he uses his fingers like this,
Right.
like that, and all this stuff that he has.
But the end result is is music, right?
Yeah, it's
and what he
music.
gets out is fantastic.
Let me explain it to you like this.
Good
There's a way to simplify the whole thing. You have to learn to play it for what it is. Say, man, you have to learn to play it for what it is.
Yeah,
He
I
thinks
agree.
it worked great for him.
I'm
I'm saying,
saying,
obviously,
It's
my
another
opinion.
instrument.
Now, I have one to say. I'm not looking at it as the point of what instrument it is. I'm listening to it as the sounds that are coming out, and I'm not even placing it in the range of the guitar. And I think what I heard on the sound sheet and the guitar player, I thought was really basically.
Let me just say that because I tried it, and with Alan, we were together when we were trying it. you're hearing how Holsworth a lot that's worked on that, and will work on that like working regularly. I think here, telling him, like a syntax, what works for him.